Krystal, what are you taking a look at?
Well, folks, fall is in the air and striketober has arrived. Grab your pumpkin spice latte and head over to a picket line because a nationwide wave of strikes is truly roiling workplaces across the entire country. You got workers from Hollywood to Bardstown, Kentucky, who have authorized strikes and walked off of job sites. It's part of what I previously described as a low-key, uncoordinated general strike. Workers who were crushed and abused and sickened during the pandemic, they are just not going to accept all the crap that they've been forced to accept for years and years. They saw the way that billionaires got richer and more powerful than ever as their lives were casually put at risk to make sure that the chicken nuggets stayed stocked and the garbage stayed picked up. Called essential, but treated as disposable. You can see why workers might feel emboldened right now too. A tight labor market is actually giving them the best leverage that they have had in decades. In fact, Goldman Sachs sent a panicked memo to investors warning that wages for the working class jumped up a, quote, eye-popping 6% in the third quarter. Now that is a very modest sum, all things considered. But it is a dramatic figure given the 40-year history of completely stagnant wages in this country. Businesses are actually having to compete a little bit for workers. They're having to increase wages. They're having to increase benefits in order to win their labor. That gives workers a lot more confidence to take more militant action in and out of the workplace. Even so, going on strike is a profoundly courageous act and a last resort taken when all other options are exhausted. So what is the latest on this strike wave? Well, as we covered just a couple days ago, the massive union representing film crews and other production workers just voted to authorize a strike. And the margin was overwhelming, with some 98% of workers voting to walk out if near-term negotiations do not get them what they want. That would be a first in IATSE's 128-year history. From makeup to sets to editing to lighting to food services, these are the folks who do the real work of making Hollywood and our entertainment industry complex go, while stars and executives rake in millions. Now, a few things here fueled worker anger. First of all, they have long-standing complaints about wages, about hours, about the availability of breaks. Second, production timelines have been ramped up to a blistering pace to make up for lost time during COVID. And finally, streaming services were granted concessions when the industry was just getting off the ground. Now that services like Netflix and Amazon Prime are fully mature, there is no reason why workers on those productions shouldn't be treated the same as anyone else. So that's the IATSE strike authorization. But even more has happened just in the last 48 hours. According to labor reporter Jonah Furman, 4,000 more workers have gone on strike in just the last few days across 4 different unions. So we've got 1,400 Kellogg workers. They launched strikes at plants in Michigan, Nebraska, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee over things like terrible schedules, low wages, and a 2-tier system that breaks the solidarity of the shop floor and consigns some workers to second-class citizenship. You have 2,000 telecom workers on strike in California over unfair labor practices. At issue are similar things: healthcare costs, wages, and the company's increasing reliance on contractors. You've got 400 hospital workers who walked out in Oregon. Their concerns range from understaffing and low wages to an outsourcing threat and insufficient COVID protections. Finally, 100 bus drivers went on strike in Anne Arundel County, Maryland. Among their demands are paid overtime, sick leave, and living wages. Again, that is all just in the last 2 days. These 4,000 workers join thousands who are already out on strike. From steel workers and miners to teachers, even symphony musicians, these workers are everywhere across the country. They work in blue-collar, white-collar, and service sector jobs, and they are united in one thing: their courageous willingness to risk their livelihood in solidarity with their brothers and sisters and in defense of their own worth and dignity. So Jonah Furman, he tracks every strike authorization, picket, and union election at his Substack. It's called Who Gets the Bird? I am a subscriber. You should definitely be a subscriber as well. He's doing a great job there. But when you add it all up, we are truly looking at a tidal wave of working class revolt from coast to coast. And yet, have you heard a word of any of this from corporate media? Of course not. They disappeared their labor reporters years ago. They have contempt and disdain for the working class to start with. After all, some of these workers might have voted for Trump or even failed to get vaxxed. And there's no cheap partisan angle or dramatic Russia spy collusion novel angle. But even more to the point, Black, white, and brown workers fighting together in solidarity, it goes against their core narrative. The core narrative that these people are selling day in and day out. We're supposed to hate each other. We're supposed to be inches from a civil war. We're supposed to understand that the greatest threat to our lives is the Trump supporter or the AOC supporter the next town over. We're supposed to listen to the experts, and the experts are telling workers to shut up and get back to work. But these striking workers have actually identified the real proximate source of needless struggle in their lives. It's their corporate bosses who have raked in cash while keeping their workers in poverty. Or, for the public sector workers, it's a corrupt political system that would starve bus drivers and cut school budgets in order to build another bomb. Or for the hospital workers, a healthcare system that puts executive and corporate profits over health every single day. Profit, corruption, and greed of an overclass happy to set workers upon each other to keep themselves unscathed. In other words, these strikes tell a dangerous truth that the media just can't stand. That even with the deck stacked, and the game rigged, and the politicians bought, and the media captured, the people still have power. And it looks like this fall, they intend to use it. And Sagar, I was kind of watching these little indications and going like, is it just that there's a little bit more? Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.